hearing from a woman who says she watched a mother try to run away from her boyfriend's gunfire.
They tell you domestic violence happens behind closed doors. They tell you it happens to someone else. But on a humid July night, in a regular apartment parking lot in North Harris County, Texas, the truth was executed in the open. 29-year-old Merseana was shot, not once but repeatedly, not by a stranger but by Nicholas, the man who was supposed to be her future. In this part of Texas, 1 in 3 murders is linked to an intimate partner. This death was not random. It was the predictable result of a pattern Merseana desperately tried to break. Merseana had a beautiful new life planned for her son. She had her ticket to freedom, but seeking to leave made her the immediate target. Her problem wasn't the volatile relationship. Her greatest risk came the moment she chose the exit. If you know these patterns are real, if you know this could happen in any neighborhood, what are you waiting for? Merseana's story should be mandatory viewing. She was lured back with one simple, innocent request. An everyday item became the bait for her cold-blooded execution. If you don't subscribe and learn the lesson behind that simple request, you're missing the key to recognizing this lethal pattern before it's too late. Hit subscribe now. You need to know what that bait was. Welcome to Unseen True Crime Stories, where the darkest secrets and untold cases come to light. Consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell. That way, you won't miss our next true crime story. To grasp the full weight of this loss, you must first know the ambition Merseana carried. Her family called her our rock. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, focused on one monumental priority, her 8-year-old son. Merseana had made a defining choice. She packed up her life in Louisiana and moved to Houston, Texas. Her sister said it plainly. The goal was to finally give her and her son a better life. You know that feeling, the sheer grit it takes to start completely fresh, to cut ties and build a secure foundation for your child? Merseana had done the hardest part. She was physically out. But to a man like Nicholas, that act of self-preservation was the ultimate challenge to his authority. Abusers don't just mourn a breakup. They lose their leverage, their source of control. Nicholas was not going to let Merseana walk away with her life, her car, or her future. The behavioral patterns are clear. The attempt to leave an abusive relationship provokes the most extreme, violent response. Merseana, in seeking autonomy, walked directly into the period of highest lethality. Her courageous move towards safety became the tripwire for her own life or death confrontation. This deadly trajectory wasn't a mystery. The violence wasn't a sudden event. It was a known pattern. Merseana was smart enough and brave enough to have filed multiple police reports for prior assaults against Nicholas. The danger wasn't just felt, it was officially recorded. Those reports should have been a shield. They were concrete proof that Nicholas posed a high risk. They were the evidence needed for intervention. Yet they failed to hold him. Merseana was a devoted mother and a loving sister who did everything she was told to do. She reported the assaults. Those official filings should have been her protection, but they weren't. Why did the system have all the evidence it needed to stop this predator? And yet, Merseana still ended up dead in that parking lot. We need to look at the paperwork to find the terrifying answer. She had filed police reports for prior assaults against him. Let that sink in for a moment. Law enforcement had the proof. The escalating risk was not a guess. It was recorded, a document filed away. But here is the devastating breakdown. The paperwork existed, the pattern was known, yet the abuser remained free, armed, and actively tracking his victim. It lays bare the brutal reality for survivors. You follow the rules, you put your faith in the system, and you are still left exposed. 2 crucial risk factors were present, screaming danger. First, Merseana was actively separating the most perilous phase. Second, Nicholas had a pistol. When an abuser has a firearm in the home, the chance of domestic murder increases by 500%. Merseana had protective paperwork. Nicholas had a weapon. That wasn't a fair conflict, it was a countdown. If documented evidence of prior assault is not sufficient cause to secure a man, and sees his weapon, what exactly is the measure of protection we offer victims in this country? If you are seeing these warning signs, these red flags, in the life of someone you care about and you choose to stay silent, to keep scrolling, how will you reconcile that inaction if you see their face on the news next week? You saw this video, you learned the patterns. Do not let fear of discomfort keep you quiet. Hit like right now. It is a small signal that you recognize these stories matter, and you commit to speaking up. The object that kept Merseana tied to Nicholas, the thing he used to maintain control, was her car and property. Abusers frequently use disputed or shared assets to force continued access. On the day of the murder, Nicholas was driving Merseana's car. He got pulled over by the police. That traffic stop should have been the end of his freedom, but it wasn't. It became the beginning of Merseana's execution. He needed the insurance card. So he did the unthinkable. He called her, the one person he should have never contacted again. Merseana went. She felt responsible for her property. She thought she was just handling a routine transaction. But how did that single routine request for a piece of paper become the calculated bait for a premeditated execution? The answer reveals the cold, deliberate intent of her killer. Merseana ran until she could run no more. She collapsed, defenseless, in the apartment complex, and Nicholas, her former partner, walked right up to her. Witness Shawnee Drury's account is crucial here. Nicholas stood over the collapsed woman and systematically unloaded gunshots into her body. Testimony suggests at least 8 more rounds at this final location. This was not a moment of uncontrolled fury. This was a deliberate act of elimination, ensuring she wouldn't survive. As the noise subsided, he turned his aggression toward the apartment buildings. Shawnee Drury reported hearing him scream a threat at anyone who might have considered helping Merseana. He was going to kill everybody in the house, us for helping her. This was pure intimidation, moving the crime from a personal conflict to an act of public violence. After executing Merseana, Nicholas reached down and committed his final act of control. He took her purse and fled the scene in her car. That theft, the commission of robbery during the homicide, is what legally elevated the charge against Nicholas Finley to capital murder in Harris County, Texas. It removes any doubt about his mindset. His primary goal was not just rage, it was absolute control over her life, her body, and her property, right up to the very last second. You've seen the depths of this cold calculation. You know this isn't just a story, it's a clear pattern of lethal intent. If you've watched this entire descent into tragedy and still refuse to subscribe, go to the comments right now and tell us why. What justifies risking missing the next life-saving pattern we reveal? We want to hear the reason you're betting on luck instead of knowledge. Defend your choice below. Nicholas Finley was quickly captured, charged, and booked. Justice will be sought. But for Merseana's family, the cost is permanent. The painful logistics of a memorial fund, cremation costs, and the heartbreaking journey to send their rock back home. The final essential lesson: when a partner shows this level of documented escalating control, you must understand that the desire for property will always outweigh your personal safety. You cannot reason with lethal control. The moment Merseana agreed to meet for that insurance card, that piece of everyday bait, her fate was sealed. The only safe option is absolute no-contact separation. Don't let Merseana's ultimate sacrifice be just a statistic. Subscribe to Unseen True Crime Stories now. We analyze the patterns so you and your loved ones can avoid becoming the next unseen story. Hit that button. It's your immediate security measure against the unseen dangers in plain sight.
The neighbor tells me she did not know Merseana Struggs for very long, but she says she was beautiful and kind. She says the moment she heard gunshots, she feared for her friend's life. Bullet holes are found on Shawnee Drury's front door.
Here's, it's right here. They're all of them are right here.
Her doorstop is where Merseana Struggs was shot and killed while trying to run from her boyfriend, Nicholas Finley. Drury recalls how it unfolded.
He said he got pulled over and he needed her to bring the insurance card. And so my roommate took her to go down there and he wasn't there. So when they came back, he was sitting right here in her car. And she jumped out and had a confrontation with him. and he shot her a couple times. My boyfriend pushed me back in the house, and we just went in the bathroom, and I just had my hands over my head, and it was so loud. I thought he was coming in the house because he kept saying he was going to kill everybody in the house. He was going to kill us for helping her.
Jury says Struggs fought to get away.
She made it into my truck, I guess, and he shot her 4 or 5 more times over there, and then she managed to make it over here at that point, and he shot her like 8 more times. It was just so senseless, so senseless.
Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says murders involving intimate partners make up 35% of the murders in unincorporated Harris County so far this year. Leaving can be the most dangerous time for a survivor, and the Houston Area Women's Center says if an abuser has a gun, lethality can increase by 500%. We have a list of domestic violence resources.
Merseana was down. Her frantic fight for survival was over. She lay defenseless. And Nicholas, the man who used to share her life, made his ultimate choice. You've witnessed the brutal calculation behind this act. You see how easy it is for an everyday argument over property to become a death sentence. If you've made it this far and still choose not to subscribe, go to the comments right now and tell us your reason for risking it. Why are you taking the chance that the next piece of crucial analysis will pass you by? Give us your honest justification for betting on luck over knowledge. You cannot negotiate with lethal control. She thought she was being responsible by returning for that insurance card. But that small attempt to handle business was weaponized against her. When the warning signs are this clear, the only viable course is a complete, absolute break with zero contact. These aren't just isolated incidents. They are patterns you need to understand. Subscribe to Unseen True Crime Stories today. We arm you with knowledge to see the warnings in your own life and the lives of those you care about. Hit that button. It's the only real protection against the dangers hiding in plain sight. Nicholas was immediately arrested and lodged in the Harris County Jail, charged with capital murder. While justice is now moving through the courts, the tragic finality is felt by Merseana's loved ones. Her family is left to manage the unimaginable memorial fund to cover funeral costs and the heartbreaking task of returning their rock back home to Louisiana. You cannot reason with lethal control. She tried to be responsible, agreeing to meet for the insurance card, but that simple desire to handle business was mercilessly weaponized against her. When a partner exhibits this pattern of documented violence and control, your most critical step is not answering the phone. You do not need a final exchange. You need a definitive, absolute, no-contact escape plan. This is the hard reality of unseen true crime. It doesn't happen in shadows, it happens in the parking lots of our apartment complexes. Do not allow Merseana's death to become just a statistic to you. Subscribe to Unseen True Crime Stories today. Every narrative we produce is designed to arm you with the knowledge necessary to spot these dangerous patterns and red flags, because the next unseen story we cover might involve someone you know. Hit that button. It's not merely a subscription, it is a vital warning signal you cannot afford to miss. Thank you for watching.